Grenadians touched down on local soil in the first repatriated flight from the United States. We'll have details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Friday, June 19th, 2020, I am Rikisha St. Louis. The first repatriation flight from the United States via JetBlue Airlines landed at the Maurice Bishop International Airport on Friday with 59 Grenadians on board. The Grenadians, who were stranded due to the closure of borders, were all happy to make the flight and be back on Grenadian soil. The arrival flight was used by the Ministry of Health and the MBIA to test its readiness to reopen the country's borders in the coming weeks. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Francis Martin was on hand to observe the process so that his team can take notes for any adjustments that may be needed.
It is going as planned, with some challenges that we've seen, some bottlenecks that we've seen, and an opportunity to improve. Those are checked, and both myself, the permanent secretary is here, we're able to identify what are the minor changes that will take place for the reopening. But basically the process is coming in, getting registered, getting your rapid test done, and after the result is gotten, then everyone goes into quarantine. And of course the result is going to be differ depending on the circumstances of each individual. And so this is really what the process is.
He has already spotted some areas that need to be adjusted.
The first entrance, when they get in, the registration and getting hand sanitization before they go on to be tested, that one needs to speed up a little bit. So it probably means working a little bit more in improving the process of our port health officers, what they do at their desks. This is one of the areas. We don't necessarily have it to increase numbers of port health officers, but just the process of how they capture the data. That is a major one that I think we need to work on.
Health Minister Honorable Nicholas Steele was also at the arrival launch to welcome the Grenadians and at the same time observe the process.
We are comfortable with this as being a dry run. We see certain things that we do need to make some changes on, so that the wait time is less, that our returning nationals or whoever is coming in are as comfortable as possible, but that we maintain the testing procedures as efficiently and as effectively as possible. So there are some changes that we will make, but in general today, everyone has come in, and within 30 to 40 minutes of starting of testing, everyone has been tested. And individuals are already leaving the testing area because they have received negative test results, proceeding to immigration and customs to then be brought to the quarantine site.
General Manager at the MBIA, Wendy Francet Williams, is satisfied with the process thus far, as it will direct the way forward for border reopening.
It will help us to work out the capacity in our arrival hall. It will also help us to work out the dwell time standards within the arrival hall to customs and so on, so that in a way we will be able to tell the turnaround times of aircraft moving forward and how we'll be able to plan our master schedule moving forward. So this is a very instrumental exercise for us today. It's our first big flight in terms of arrival, not departure, but arrival. And this arrival flight will be our base flight in planning and moving ahead with planning for the future.
All 59 repatriated Grenadians were interviewed and tested before going through to immigration process and customs, and then to the awaiting transportation to take them to their quarantine facility. Later in the newscast, we have reactions from a few of those who returned home on Friday. The Grenville Bus Terminal will resume normal operations on Monday, 22nd June, following the completion of Phase 1 of retrofitting work. That confirmation from the Ministry of Transport and Works and the Royal Grenada Police Force. On Friday, officials from the ministry, the RGPF, and representatives from the various zone associations toured the newly retrofitted facility to give approval for its use on Monday. The Grenville Bus Terminal was closed to the majority of buses as government and the RGPF looked at ways to ensure COVID-19 regulations were not violated. Lyndon Bullen, civil engineer in the Transport Ministry, says with the completion of Phase 1, more work will be done on terminals in Sates and Carriacou.
This basically is the first phase, which was just to cater for the loading bays, so that way passengers can come in, they can social distance and still be protected from the weather. So in the second phase, what we're going to try to cater for is a pavement of the crushed stone area, and we're going to also cater for some drainage at the back of the terminal. So that way all water collected and accumulated on the surface can be directed back out towards the sea. We had the same done in St. George's, we had this one in St. Andrews, and currently we're trying to have engagement with Carriacou and also Sates to see if we can have something similar arranged. So for this one in particular, once the plans were prepared within a few days, we would have engaged contractors, and this was done more or less in 2.5 weeks, following the planning and approval from the committee. The ones in St. George's, they were a lot smaller areas to work with, so it was a lot faster to put together than this one.
ACP Justman Prince explained how the new process will unfold from Monday.
We have six loading bays, and each of the loading bay will have about 3 buses at any one time. So that is way over the amount that is required. 15 and then you have extra 3. So that will be the arrangement going forward. Now when the buses come in, all buses will be entering from that side. And once you enter, you make your way all the way down, and then you'll be sanitized. We're going to bring over the sanitization booth to the left a little bit more, so you don't have to go to the dot area and come back out. You just go straight under the sanitized, get sanitized, and then if you want to leave, you swing out and you leave straight. That is if you're ponging the road, you continue on. And if you wait, you get sanitized and you come back, drive through this lane, and then you take your park in your designated area. So all of these parking here will be designed and designated to the various zones.
President of the Northern Bus Association, Chris Williams, says the move to retrofit the terminal was a great one that is highly appreciated by the drivers.
We appreciate the covering, the new settings for the buses, in encouraging social distancing and so on, because part of the terminal we used to use before is currently using for sanitization and so on. So we understand that, we will have to get new structures, and we appreciate the covering and so on. Also, there is a few areas in which I think there should be improvement. As you can see, the area is not paved. Now the authorities said that paving will take place soon. So we're hoping that we're going to have to spend the next year or 2 years in that mud or in that gravel area.
Continuing with the news, 8 cruise ship workers who tested positive on the rapid test in the final group that arrived in Grenada have been cleared after passing the PCR test. However, Health Minister Honorable Nicholas Steele says, out of an abundance of caution, they are being kept in mandatory quarantine and will be tested again. Minister Steele says, as it stands at this point, Grenada has 0 cases of COVID-19.
So as of today, we can say still we have 0 cases of COVID-19 in Grenada. We have people in quarantine that we will continue to test. So there is a possibility that 1 or 2 or so, God forbid though, but some of those individuals who are in quarantine may test positive for COVID-19, and we would have to say that we have 1 case in quarantine. But we do not have right now, and the safety procedures, that's why we insist on the quarantine period, and that's why we're making it mandatory quarantine where there is that risk.
Grenada has conducted 853 PCR tests to date and 4,500 rapid tests. This is the National Report. We'll have more news after the break.
Do you still have EC1 and 2-cent coins? If you do, then you have until the end of this month, 30th June, to spend them, exchange, or deposit them at your commercial bank. After 30th June, you will not be able to use your 1 and 2 cents as they will no longer be legal tender. Find them, spend them, exchange or deposit them at your commercial bank. Act now and receive value for your 1 and 2 cent coins by 30th June.
Welcome back. It was all smiles for 59 Grenadians who made the first repatriation flight home from the U.S. since the closure of the country's borders on March 22, 2020, due to the threat of COVID-19. Before heading into the arrival lounge after passing through the sanitization chamber, Michael Straley, Augustus Joseph and Michael Smith all spoke of their joy to be home, thanking the government for its efforts.
It is so wonderful to be here. I'm just overwhelmed. I've been away for 3 months and I can't, that's all. Thank you. Thank you for the government of Grenada for getting us home.
I went up for 6 weeks and I spent four months. And the best thing could ever happen to me, I'm back home. And the best, I love to see how you all set it up. I was supposed to come back on the 2nd of April. And I just get here. That's the best feeling for 4 months. Yes, I'm glad. Protecting me.
It's awesome to be home. We long awaited to come back, and now we're here.
I'm quite impressed with the embassy and the government here in what they did in organizing this flight for us. I'm very much happy to be home. Well, I'm a law-abiding citizen, and it's of paramount importance that I follow the laws of the land, and I will follow the protocols out here and adhere to all the laws of the land.
But while these Grenadians were happy to be home, 2 visitors, Jonathan Lowe and Keith Robinson, were sad to leave the country. They both were part of the 60 non-nationals who left the country via the JetBlue flight that brought home the repatriated Grenadians.
I've been in Grenada since March 9th. Yes and no. I had a place to stay. I was staying with my girlfriend, and I decided to cancel my flight due to the outbreak in the States, and it seemed like at the time there was less cases here, so I wanted to stay where it was a little bit safer. I don't want to go because I love it here, but besides that, I'm excited to go home and see my family. I'm not excited about coronavirus, but we're taking all the precautions. It looks like the airport's being safe as well, so I feel comfortable flying.
We arrived December 3rd. We wanted to leave May 4th, and we weren't able to. So we actually had 2 other flights booked, but they were canceled. So we just were patient until we got this news from the embassy, and we're taking advantage of it. I'm pretty happy. I'm ready to go home just because it's home, but I love Grenada, and we're coming back November 1st.
And that story just ended the national report for today, Friday, June 19th. Let's recap the top story. 59 Grenadians touched down on local soil in the first repatriated flight from the United States. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rikisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.